play and just want to give a little info or something like that, you're more than fine doing that as well.
Okay, sweet. Sounds good.
All right, we are live now.
Word.
Actually, you know what? I didn't even ask how you wanted to be introduced. I know on your Twitter profile it says Roto Grinders. Do you work with them or go ahead, introduce yourself. How about that?
Yeah, for sure. Well, appreciate the invite, guys. Always fun to be able to hop on and talk baseball. The commish is probably what most people know me as. You can see my Twitter handle at Commish Film Room on Twitter. I do some VIP content for the Lab VIP personal Discord. I run with Prop God, Jonesy Trends, and Liam Picks Fights as our UFC guy. I do some work with Roto Grinders, Fantasy Labs, some of their premium stuff as well. So hands a little bit all over the betting space, contributing different places, and it's fun because I get to cross paths with sharp guys like you and sharp guys from other places. So I get to learn a lot, get to meet a lot of cool people.
So you're the utility infielder of the betting space. just plug it in where it needs them.
Yeah, I hope I have a little bit more talent than Christian Arroyo. That's what I'm always going.
All right. Well, we have 15 games to get through, and so let's get started instead of just wasting everyone's time here because me and Beaver will ramble forever.
We're ramblers.
So first game, Prop Beaver vetoed this pick that we agreed on last night. We agreed on it. Then this morning I wake up, we go through the ticket. He doesn't have it on there. He got scared. I'm sticking with it. It's the first 5, under 4.5. You can get it at -105 on Bet365. I just checked a few minutes ago. You could still get that. I don't need to re-go through all the notes I said in the video last night. Basically, Ashcraft has been a beast against lefties. Lefties have a 0.049 batting average against Ashcraft this season. And the Rangers usually have a decent amount of lefties in the lineup. And it's actually, I don't trust John Gray, but it's actually a decent spot for him. So, yeah, first 5 under 4.5. I want to bet the Reds. Based on the line movement, let me blow this up real quick from the bottom here. If you could see down here, why isn't it getting bigger? Whatever. You could see lines moving towards the Reds. Now at -103. The Reds were at plus money last night, which means it's moving in line with how I thought. The Reds bullpen is low-key been pretty good recently. The last 2 weeks, they're 9th in WOBA. The problem is they're missing their closer. Diaz pitched 2 nights in a row, so he's not going to be available. So I'm going to stay off the Reds, but I want to bet them.
Yeah, I ultimately just passed on this game. Would I like to back the Reds and Ashcraft through the first 5? Sure, definitely. The issue with that I find is, though, that, yes, he's amazing against lefties, but some of the key bats in that Texas lineup are righties, such as Adolis Garcia, and that scares me a bit because Ashcraft, I know he's been phenomenal thus far, but I feel that he is due a little bit to get rocked. I can't deny that. You just can't have insane splits like that and just be consistently pitching as well as Ashcraft has thus far. John Gray's on the other side. He is better against righties, but I just don't trust the guy in the road. So that's ultimately why I'm staying away. Unders at Cincy are just sacrilegious borderline. And
I thought you told me, though, that the unders in Great American Ballpark are a lot more prevalent in the second half of the season. I'm pretty sure it was you that told me that.
Nah. Oh, yes. I guess...
Didn't you say that?
What you're saying is the fact that in the beginning of the season, because it's colder, there wouldn't be as many.
No, that's not what I'm saying. You told me that. I think it was you.
I believe it was somebody else had told me that. I believe it was Toast at the time.
Okay. All right. Never mind. My bad. I thought that was your stat.
No.
All right. Do you have
anything
for this one?
Yeah, I'm also looking at the under in this spot. I think I might go official here in the next couple of minutes on the under 4.5 first 5 as well. I'm debating the under in the first 3 or the under in the first 5. The lineup construction today just doesn't make a lot of sense for either of these teams offensively. You look at Texas has 6 lefties, which was already mentioned. Ashcraft last year, much better against lefties than he was against righties. 296 FIP, 113 WHIP against lefties, 543 FIP, 170 WHIP against righties. And then John Gray last year, and then so far this year too, pretty damn good against right-handed batters last year. K percentage was better, walk percentage was better, opponent batting average was significantly better. Everything that you want to look at, the splits favor him, and he's got 6 righties in the lineup today. A couple of those righties he's got 4 pretty solid K targets as well. So If you're looking for like a parlay piece, he's got a K-friendly umpire behind the plate. So maybe if you're one of those alt parlay guys, alt strikeout guys, you can take him like 5Ks, something like that. But really, I think the under here just makes a lot of sense. It's relatively cold. It's about 52 degrees at first pitch I'm looking at, and wind's blowing a little bit across the field, a little bit in. So it's like Great American is a launching pad. We know that, but there's a lot of things here working towards an under, I think.
Agreed. Yeah, I like the first threes too. I think Prop Beaver was telling me, I believe he was looking at your content.
Yeah.
You get to isolate the starting pitcher's numbers the first time through the lineup, which is definitely interesting. I got to start looking at that. That's cool.
Yeah, it's my favorite look, honestly, because like a lot of these guys have, especially guys that have two really good pitches. They like Hunter Green is a perfect example of this. He has a fastball and a slider. Fastball has elite velocity, so he usually catches guys off guard that first time through the order, and then he's got a slider, so he's got a way to put guys away the first time through. But you look at the second time through, these are major league hitters. Yeah, 99, 100 miles an hour is a little bit startling out of the gate, but you get a second look at that, you get the timing down, and then you've already seen the slider, so you can spit on that pitch, you can make him come into the zone, or you can force a walk. You see a lot better at bats from guys the second and third time through the order against a guy like Hunter Green. So if I'm ever betting on Green, it's usually a Reds first three or an under first three in those spots.
Yeah, definitely makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it's fun.
Excuse me. So Boston at Baltimore, and what do you know? Another bet that I thought me and Prop Beaver agreed on. I wake up in the morning. That was just me last night.
Yeah, no, I mean the other one I could definitely I could have gotten there. This one is like, no, not getting there with Baltimore. This team's overvalued.
Baltimore money line, even at minus 119. I think when we did the YouTube video last night, it was at minus 110. Tyler Wells has completely dominated the Boston lineup, as I said on YouTube. And I mean, I don't really like Tanner Houck. I know he was really highly touted a couple of years back, or was that last year when he first came up? No, I feel like that was 2 years ago now. Either way, it was 2 years ago. Yeah. And the other thing, last 2 weeks, bullpen WOBA, Baltimore second in Major League Baseball to only the Detroit Tigers. So I'm down to trust the Baltimore bullpen. I trust Tyler Wells. And even if Boston goes up in this game, I feel like the Red Sox blow a lead every single day. Every single night, I feel like the Red Sox blow a lead. So I know that this is probably going to be the heavy public side come first pitch. It's already starting to lean heavy Baltimore, but I don't care. I'm on the O's.
Yeah, I just can't get to the O's right now with their offense against righties. It's very frustrating because yesterday Corey Kluber could not have been in a worse spot to get rocked on the road against lefties at night. And guess what happens? He goes 6 innings, allowing just 1 earned run. And it doesn't seem like he was just the only one to do so. Michael Lorenzen just shut them down for 0 earned runs. Josiah Gray just shut them down for 1 run. These bats are starting to slow down against right-handed pitching, and in fact, if you look over the last week, they're in the bottom 10 of WRC plus against righties. So that's what is really the issue for me. I've been seeing a ton of these Baltimore games where it's a 1-0, a 2-3 against really poor teams, and I feel the majority of their wins have come against the Athletics, the White Sox, the Tigers, and another poor team that I can't remember right now. I just overall think the Red Sox are a better team. And I would just rather pass in this spot than fade them.
Kamish?
I don't have strong feelings on this. I think I would maybe lean Red Sox full game, and it has more to do with just a macro betting trend that I've noticed in baseball, where typically when a team wins a lot of games in a row, like we just saw Baltimore do, once they finally lose a game, very frequently you'll see them lose 2 in a row. It's just sort of that emotional deflation. You've just banked a lot of wins. And then you look at the bullpen usage as well. The Red Sox are just in better shape here in the late innings. I know the talent level is very debatable, but just from a usage standpoint, Jansen's only pitched once in the last 5 days at this point. A couple of the other high leverage guys are available. And you look at what the Orioles have the last couple of days. They've thrown Vaught through 44, Bauman through 32 yesterday, but then you look at guys like Brian Baker throwing 2 of the last 3 days, Sionel Perez 2 of the last 3 days, Cano has thrown 2 of the last 4. So I think there's just a little bit more availability in the Boston pen late in the game. So I think for me, it's probably just a stay away spot overall here.
All right, I put Boston money line lean for you.
Yep, that's fine.
All right, let's move on to the next one. White Sox at Toronto. Oh man, I mean, I have a ton of notes about this one, but it's basically just like a bunch of shit, just me shitting on Michael Kopech. I actually don't even have a bet that I love in it, so I'm just gonna write past and I'll let these two guys talk. Maybe they have something they like. There's no reason for me to just ramble on about how much he sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I'll ramble on a little bit. The guy's a huge fade. He's leading the league in barrel rate by a metric fuck ton. I believe he's in a rude awakening against his Jays team, who's rocked him for 10 runs through 4 innings the last time he saw them. On the other side, we got Kikuchi, who, take out the Angel start, who's top 3 against lefties thus far, and he's looked phenomenal. He's now going to face a White Sox lineup that I feel is overvalued from years past. Everybody knows that the White Sox used to smash lefties. If you're looking this season over the last 2 weeks, this is a lineup that's 28th in OPS against left-handed pitchers. On top of that, Kikuchi has some pretty solid numbers against this White Sox lineup with a 598 OPS and a 192 OBA. And I think the Jays are going to enter the half with a lead. Now, I know the Blue Jays bullpen hasn't been great lately, but I've said pretty much all season that the White Sox have a bottom 5 pen without Liam Hendricks, and I have way more trust in the Jays to hold that lead than the White Sox to, contend with that. So I like the double result at plus 100. I think that's a pretty nice value, and I just really think the White Sox are going to be entering a tough slump right now.
In case you don't know what a double result is, most sportsbooks have it. You're betting the team to be winning after 5 innings and to win the full game. Same as the first half full game money line for an NBA bet or NFL. Basically, any sport has it. So it's called double result.
The only difference really, though, is like with the MLB is that it can't be tied at half.
No, that's the same thing in NBA, isn't it?
Oh, really? It can't be tied at half? There's a tie option in the NBA?
Well, it could be tied at halftime, yeah. I'm pretty sure it loses the bet. That's a good question. I should probably know that.
Yeah.
Commish, anything for this one?
We'll do it in the NBA at some point, and we'll win or lose.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, I'm with you guys. Like, I don't think we need to belabor the point on Kopech, but for me, truly, I'm less irritated with Kopech, and I'm less down on him as a talent, and more so as I'm down on the White Sox as an organization. You look at last year, Kopech hurt his knee. Before that, he was pretty solid. But then across this last 14 starts, we saw the velo drop. We saw the hard hit rate go way up. His last 14 starts, he had a 4.79 ERA, a 5.57 FIP. The K percentage went way down. Like, it's so confusing to me that they weren't making the postseason last year. They pushed him through all those injuries just to have him out there eating up innings. And then somehow he's not healthy by the time spring training rolls around. And now we continue to see him. Like, if you look at his mechanics, they're not consistent pitch over pitch. Like, he's clearly compensating out there. I was shocked that I think he had 9 strikeouts in his last start against the Rays. Like, that was shocking to me, but I think he falls much closer back in line with 4 or 5 today. I think the under 4.5 has some value for maybe like a half unit. Like, I currently would put that as a lean. But yeah, I mean, the White Sox, they've had a reputation in previous years too for being pretty strong against left-handed pitching. 19th in OPS, 11th in ISO, about middle of the pack in walk rate and K rate as well this year. So there's just not a lot to like with the White Sox. Like, I think they're very clearly a non-playoff team, and I think they continue to get too much respect in the books.
Yeah. People are betting them just because, I mean, just their name. The White Sox, people expect them to be better than they are.
Well, and they were supposed to win 95 games last year. So, like, I think people still have that in their head where they're like, oh, this team, it should be good. They have Luis Robert. They have Eloy Jimenez. Like, I know who these guys are. I know who Kopech is. He was a highly touted prospect. I saw him throwing 105 on Instagram and Twitter and stuff like that coming up through the minors. And now, dude, he's sitting 92. He's sitting 93. Like, it's not the same pitcher.
Now he has a 91% barrel rate through a month.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, actually, and I don't want to get too sidetracked, but maybe you could settle an argument we were having. So I'm sure you're familiar with Fangraphs.
Yep.
So how can a pitcher, and tell me how this makes any sense, have a terrible barrel rate or a good barrel rate and then have the complete opposite hard hit percentage? Tell me that's just not stupid as hell. That's just silly. Prop Beaver was trying to tell me it's because, and Toast, I had the same argument with Toast, was trying to tell me that you could hit the ball hard off the end of the bat, which I was like, then what are these numbers telling us?
It's not the best argument, but it's an argument.
It's like, so for me, it's more so like you can hit the ball hard, and so a barrel rate, you have to have a specific launch angle. So you could, like, theoretically, you could have a 100% hard hit rate and a 0% barrel rate. And just, like, think of Yandy Diaz. Like, Yandy Diaz does not have a ton of barrels, or at least he didn't before this year. He's been a guy who hits a lot of balls on the ground, a lot of balls that are, he's a gap power type of guy. So you could theoretically have a lot of hard hit baseballs that are hitting the barrel of the bat, but they don't have the barrel definition the way StatCast classifies it. So theoretically that could happen. But I think long term it would be very, very difficult to sustain a high barrel rate with a low hard hit percentage, or a very high hard hit percentage with a low barrel rate.
Exactly. I think they should at least be loosely correlated. And it just makes it, for the more casual sports bettor or data analyst, data analyst, it makes it's like, okay, which one am I looking at here? What do I go by? The fact that there's two metrics that don't mean the same thing, but it tells you the same information that you're looking for in a way. It's tough.
My general rule of thumb is like, if a guy has a high barrel rate, he's more of a threat to hit a home run. Like that, when you think about barrel rates, that's the optimal home run swing. So if you're looking at a pitcher that gives up a lot of home runs, and you see an offense that has a very high barrel rate, to me that would scream, okay, he's in a lot of danger today. Versus like there's guys like Shane Bieber gives up a ton of hard contact, but part of it is by design. The Guardians had 4 Gold Glove defenders last year. They have Quan and Straw in the outfield. So like sometimes by design, Bieber, you'll see him pitch to contact, and he's okay giving up a screamer into the gap because he knows it's not going to get barreled by the barrel definition. He'll give up hard contact knowing that he's got Straw and Quan out there to go run down balls in the gap. And it's one of those things that's a little confusing in preseason projections sometimes. Of Bieber doesn't look like an ace. He doesn't have all the dark red on StatCast. But if you watch him, you know he's a very high IQ pitcher, and you know that a lot of that is by design because of who he has playing defense behind him.
Damn, that was a really good answer. That made complete sense to me. All right, let's move on.
This next game is wretched.
Oh, I skipped it just because it's the Xavier Curry game.
Yeah, I was confused by the chart.
No, there was no data for this one, so I just left it. I passed on this one.
It's actually not even Curry anymore that's pitching. It's let me see who it is. It is Tanner. I'm gonna pronounce it Bibee. Bibee. This guy Lance Brosdowski that I follow. He's a great writer. He says he's a fun pitcher. He's got a devastating slider, and I think he'll have a higher than league average walk rate. Lefties are going to do the most damage against him. Yeah, that doesn't give me anything to bet with. And the Guardians are a true mess right now, so pass.
All right, pass.
Yeah, the Guardians have played too many doubleheaders recently. It's something that the more you bet baseball,
they are getting killed by that.
It's a reality, and I'm sort of kicking myself. I've just been busy. I coach and I do some other things, and I haven't been taking advantage of this as of late. But I know it every year when teams have to play multiple doubleheaders in the span of a week or 10 days. It's exhausting. It's exhausting for the offense. You've seen the production plummet even against bad pitching. The pitching. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of pressure on the starters to get deep into games, and you see them pressing like someone like Cal Quantrill, who usually relatively solid at home, and especially against an anemic offense like the Rockies. Got through, I think, 3 1/3 yesterday, the day before.
He got rocked.
Oh my
God.
So
and then the bullpen obviously goes without saying. The more you're using the bullpen, and now you have double headers. Now guys are very taxed. There's just a lot of wear and tear physically with the roster, but then also emotionally and mentally. I mean, baseball is a long game. You're showing up. It's 40 degrees in Cleveland. It's hailing and sleeting and snowing, and you got to keep going to the park, and it's frustrating. It's really frustrating. So for me, it's a pass too. I've seen some good things about BB, his pitch shapes and things like that, but I mean, the Rockies have a ton of righties in the lineup today, so it's like, to me, that screams a lot of walks for a young pitcher, especially when it's cold. You'll see guys have grip issues. So if walks are the biggest concern with this kid and it's 40 something degrees, yeah, I'm just passing as well.
Pass across the board. Yeah, yesterday, so 2 nights ago on YouTube, I was like, the Rockies line up on the road against righties, auto fade, they never do anything, and then it was 4-0 Rockies before I even turned the game on last night. Yep. All right, next up, Yankees, Twins. I'm sticking with the Twins. I said I liked the Twins last night. I'm sticking with it. I'll admit that I don't love it. I think it's at -120 now.
Yeah.
But Prop Beaver's about to try to tell you that the Twins bullpen has been performing poorly, but they're still sitting at 15th in WOBA, so I still trust them a little bit. Wait, why does it say... Oh, that's supposed to say Domingo Germán, not Nestor Cortez.
Yep.
So that graphic's wrong on the left. That's supposed to say Germán. Anyway, You heard me talk about this game yesterday. Kenta Maeda, I think he's better than his numbers indicate. He also has really good career numbers against the Yankees. And then the numbers that Toast sent us about the Yankee bats. The bottom half of the order, 5 through 9, 29th in the MLB in OPS this year. Only the Kansas City Royals, bottom half of the order, has been worse than the Yankees. Aaron Judge, since Stanton went on the IL, was it 138? He's batting 429. I mean,
something really putrid.
It's flat out like, if you think the Twins can score 3 or 4 runs, then you should probably be looking at a possible Twins bet, because the Yankees just aren't hitting. So yeah, I'm on the Twins. This is not my favorite bet of the day or anything, but I will throw a few dollars on it.
Yeah, I'm going to isolate the first 5 because I'm not thrilled with the Twins bullpen over the last week, but I still do like the Twins quite a bit. That's minus 115. I just think that they're the flat-out better team than the Yankees right now. Over the last 2 weeks, the bats are sitting top 7 in most major hitting categories against right-handed pitching. Yankees during that span, bottom 3. And I really only think it gets worse for them because Maeda owns them with a 506 OPS, a nice 29% K percentage, and a 167 OBA. Maeda's main struggles are against lefties, and it looks to be that there's only 3 lefties in the Yankees lineup today, and none of them are truly pivotal. Rizzo has horrible experience against Maeda as well, which helps. And as far as Herman goes, yes, Herman looked excellent in that twin start. I just think he's due for some regression there. You can't have an amazing start like that twice in a row against a proud lineup like the Twins and just walk away into the sunset. That's not how life goes. I think that the Twins are going to hit him up a bit today. Does it hurt that Buxton and Polanco are sitting? Yeah, it does. Typical Twins baseball. But I still like the angle there, and I'm still willing to ride with the Twins through the first 5.
One thing I will say about Herman, though, if you remember, we had Toronto as our bet of the day, money line against Herman.
Yes.
And Toronto ended up winning 6-1. But the thing is, I thought, we watched that entire game, or at least I did. I thought you were here. But anyway, he was a lot better, in my opinion, than his numbers indicated. I thought Herman actually pitched decent in that game. He battled his way out of some jams. So I'll give him credit on that. If you look at his numbers, it looks like he got absolutely rocked by Toronto. And maybe he did to some extent, but I thought he was a little better than the numbers showed. That's all. Commish, you got one for this?
Man, it's a general rule of mine that I will absolutely not bet the Minnesota Twins if Byron Buxton is not in the lineup.
Fair.
The splits are insane. The run production that Minnesota's had the last couple of years with Buxton in the lineup versus him not in the lineup. That being said, I'm not super eager to bet on the Yankees in this spot either, because of the way the offense has been going. I do feel like it could be one of those spots. It's an afternoon game. The Twins have won a few games in a row. The Yankees have lost a few games in a row. The Yankees are better than what they've shown the last week or so of the season. The Twins, they just have a tendency to punt in day games. We've seen it a couple of times. We've seen it already at least once this year that I can pull from the top of my head. It does make me look at an under in this spot. Herman is typically a guy that pounds the strike zone. Last season was very, very good pounding the zone. This year he's been a little hit and miss. He's had 2 games with a first strike percentage north of 70%, 2 games with first strike percentage of below 60%. So if Herman could just pound the zone, I think he's going to do a reasonably good job keeping the Twins off of the scoreboard in this one. Especially you look at the weather; it's 46 degrees again at first pitch. The wind's blowing across the field, so I think we could see an under here with the bats missing, as you guys mentioned, and the fact that the Yankees seemingly haven't been taking bats to the plate in the last week. So it's for me, it's like I'm leaning under, leaning Yankees. I probably won't get there on the side for an official, but I probably will take another look at the total here in a little bit.
It's not a bad angle, especially with the line movement. It moved from 8 to 7.5. Seems the Bucks seem to agree with that one.
Yeah, but the books had the. I thought the same thing yesterday. I thought I was being the sharpest dude alive, taking the under at 6.5. Got bit.
Well, the other thing to watch, and this is another reason I bet a lot of first threes, is because full game markets will adjust to big money coming in. But a lot of times the first 3 in the first 5 markets are 100% just derivatives of the full game. So sometimes you'll get like a 7.5 full game, 2.5 in the first 3. So you think you're roughly like a 2.5 first 3, you should think it's probably an 8.5 or a 9 for the full game. So if you can get a 2.5 in this situation, I don't even know. I'd have to pull it up to see what the first 3 is in this spot. But that's another thing to look at, especially with like Maeda was very solid the other day against the White Sox, April 10th in a day game. He was solid the first time through the order, and then the second time through the order got hit around a little bit. Guys got a little bit better look at him. You can see his whip the first time through the order this year, 0.9. Second time through the order, 1.5. Small sample size, of course, but the opponent batting average has gone way up as well. And then if we go back and we look at Herman's splits from last season, because obviously a bigger sample size, looks like okay, so he was actually better. He didn't have real stark splits. The FIP was different, but a lot of the other stuff was the same. So maybe a first 3, maybe a first 5. But the weather's very cold too. Bats missing. I think I could talk myself into an under if I just keep rambling.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of talked me into the under when you were saying before when you first started. I was like, yeah, that sounds pretty good for an under.
Yeah, so we'll see. I'm going to circle back on that probably in a few minutes here.
Roberto Delgado, like Cincinnati first 5 money line. Yeah, we were saying that before. Ashcraft, man, those numbers against lefties are crazy. Anyway, Detroit at Milwaukee. I'm gonna let Prop Beaver talk about it. Obviously, it feels like the perfect spot for Freddie Peralta to get back on track, coming off back-to-back Rocky starts. We know he's much better than he's shown in his last 2 starts, and then at home against a Tigers lineup that, let's face it, doesn't particularly hit anyone well, let alone righties. I mean, we can back the Tigers at home against lefties sometimes, but on the road against a righty in Peralta, I think it's a good spot for Peralta to get back on track. So I'm down to tail. Prop was probably about to tell you Peralta to record a win, I believe.
Yeah.
I'm down to tail that.
Yeah, I like Peralta to record a win at plus 135. Both times he pitched well this season. He recorded a win going 6+ innings in both. So I like him to be put in an opportunity to record a win here. And the main reason I like this is the spot. Peralta's coming off 2 horrendous starts in a row, and the Brewers are coming off 2 straight losses. Proud Brewers team at the Cribbo, not trying to get swept by the freaking Detroit Tigers. And now you got one of your best arms on the mound. I think that at a plus 135 price, that's pretty insane. Not only that, but I mean, Tigers 29th in WRC plus against righties, through 29 at bats against the lineup. Peralta's posted a 366 OPS and a 36% K rate, which is godly. And while Lorenzen did look great last start, if you go back to last year, he definitely struggled on the road. And not only that, but he tended to struggle a bit against lefties. I got to see what the Brewers are rolling out these days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so 5 lefties in the lineup, including 3 of the first 4 bats. I think that Lorenzen's due to get rocked up. And as I was saying earlier, I think the Orioles bats are a bit dead right now. I feel that was mainly the reason why Lorenzen had such a great outing against a Brewers team that continues to hit righties very well right now. I think that that's going to be a different story. So ultimately at that nice plus 135 price, how do I pass it up? I won't.
That reminds me, I wrote this down this morning. We didn't put it in the YouTube video last night, but I think Prop Beaver's bet is probably better value at plus 135, but I'm also down to play Milwaukee first 5 team total over 2.5. Basically a fade of Lorenzen. Commish, anything?
Nothing that's really sticking out to me. It's one of those spots where it feels like there's close to 0% chance that Milwaukee loses, and that's the way I felt about Atlanta the last couple of days. So like Atlanta just got swept, and then you knew they were going to bounce back against Miami, just a more inferior team than what they had faced over the weekend. I think you want to take Brewers money line, do that. If you want to take the Brewers money line, and I think Peralta for sure gets to 6 strikeouts today. So if you're one of those like player performance type of guys, Peralta 6 Ks and Milwaukee win. I don't personally like those type of bets, but like if I can pair Milwaukee money line or Milwaukee first 5 money line with another spot on the slate that I really like, or like sometimes I'll take, like for example, the Yankees game. If I really like the under in that game, but then I also really like Milwaukee to win the game, I might tease the Yankees total up to 9.5 or 10 to get a little bit of insurance there, and then take what I feel is a very likely outcome with Milwaukee winning that game. So I'm essentially playing 2 things that I really like, but just putting them into one bet and getting a little bit of insurance both ways instead of taking Milwaukee on the spread and taking the default on the total.
Yeah, it looks like we're all on the same page there, and it's not exactly a hot take that we all think the Brewers should handle their business today. Let's move on to the next one. Royals at D-backs. I passed. Obviously, I like Arizona, but I think they're just way too expensive. I'll just put Arizona or pass. I'm sure some of you psychopaths will have Arizona money line in your 13-leg parlays that are terribly valued. But yeah, there's no way I could get there. Even if like you gave me KC plus 2.5 at -110, I'd still pass on it. So yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not usually a PPD guy either, but I'm going to be one for this game. Give me Zach Gallen, 7+ Ks, doing the regular total, not even the alt. Give me 7+ Ks and the D-backs money line at +124. I'm very high on Gallen. I was last year, and through his last 3 starts, the guy is yet to give up a run. He's posted a godly 42% strikeout rate during that time, and now he's about to face a lineup that has 6 lefties in it. If you know Gallen going back to last year, this man is disgusting against left-handed batters, and this season against lefties, he's got a 37% K rate and a 147 WOBA. Add in that KC, before seeing putrid Ryan Nelson yesterday, couldn't score runs to save their lives, and I like Gallen to go scoreless for a 4th straight. 11 of 17 righties to face KC have cashed their K total with guys like Joe Ryan, Otani, DeGrom, Eovaldi, Desclafani, Gausman, Berrios, and Pablo Lopez all hitting 7+. I think Gallen's...
Were those all right-handed pitchers? Oh, no, Otani,
yes.
you said.
Those were all right-handed
Wait,
pitchers.
Otani's he's a lefty bat. My bad, go on.
Yeah, he's a right-handed pitcher. So, I mean, as far as the D-backs go in terms of winning the game, yeah, they're slightly worse against lefties, but Ryan Yarbrough really isn't looking great right now. Add in a bottom 5 KC bullpen to that struggles specifically against left-handed bats, and I like the D-backs to win, and more so, I like Gallen to go over this total. This is more so a bet on Gallen than the D-backs, but if you add the D-backs, then you're going to get plus money instead of paying that -130 price on most books.
All right, Kamish, you have an angle for this one?
I agree with both of you. I think the Diamondbacks are grossly overpriced, even though I think they're going to win. I like Gallen over 6.5. I don't know if I'm going to get there on the default line or not, but I really like what he did last year. He revamped the pitch mix a little bit, more of the curveball, more of the cutter. The cutter, particularly against left-handed batters, you saw his hard hit rates, barrel rates, swinging, like everything got better. I think right now Zach Gallen is undeniably one of the most talented pitchers in baseball, and I think in a national league that really lacks a clear favorite for the Cy Young, Zach Gallen at, what is he, like plus 450 right now, I think, some books. Yeah. I don't know how you pass it up. I think everything about what he did to adjust his repertoire last year is very sustainable, and we've seen other guys do similar things with their pitch mix and have sustained success for multiple years after that. So I like him a lot. I can't. It's just a rule for me of like, if a team's offense isn't good against a particular type of pitcher, so like a left-handed pitcher, even though it's Yarbrough, like you said, you know, they're bottom half of the league in OPS, bottom third of the league in ISO, which is a power metric. They're dead last in walk percentage. They're roughly league average in K percentage. So I can't pay a -275 on the money line when half of the game, right? Like people forget half of the game is the offense. So Gallen could go out there and throw a gem, and he could find himself in a 2-1 or a 3-2 type of game late. So Gallen strikeouts, especially with the roof closed, or maybe the under in this spot as well. But I gotta figure out how much I can trust the Kansas City pitching staff in this one against lefties, like you mentioned.
Yeah. Also, I feel like Yarbrough's been pretty awful since he got to KC, and he's due for a good start. I mean, we know this dude isn't terrible from his days in Tampa, so I mean, it wouldn't be crazy to see him throw a good game. All right, next game. True. Dodgers at Pirates. This one was awesome last night. I mean, we had over in Pirates money line, so we split. That comeback was heartbreaking, but it was crazy to watch. Dodgers came back and won 8-7. Yeah, so I'll hold on. Did it just freeze? Hello?
I think we're back.
It froze for a second. Sorry about that. So yeah, I'm passing on this one just because I said it on YouTube last night. What can we expect from Tony Gonsolin? Obviously, if you told me we're going to get Tony Gonsolin from the first half of last season, it'd be Dodgers -1.5 without even a second thought. And then I don't want to fade him because I don't trust Contreras at all. Roansy, I don't trust him. So yeah, I'm passing. Prop Beaver, I think you're passing too, or did you have something?
I passed. If I knew Gonsolin was going the full game, I'd have zero issue betting the Dodgers money line, not the run line, because it is the Pirates after all. But he's projected to go only 4 innings, and then I went on RotoWire, and it has Andre Jackson as the primary pitcher today. And he's been struggling thus far to start the year, to put it nicely. So laying 150 to the Pirates in that scenario is a bit insane to me. But on the other side, I also feel nuts backing Roansy Contreras against a red-hot Dodgers lineup. I really don't trust Roansy. And in fact, his last two starts were against the Cardinals and the Reds, two teams greatly struggling against right-handed pitching right now. You face the Astros. Guess what happened there? Got it lit up into a different planet. And this is a similarly talented offense with a bunch of powerhouses. So, yeah, this is just a pass for me.
All right. What about Kamish? Angle for this one?
I'm not gonna lie. I like the Pirates here. I think Gonsolin's got some talent, but I do some spaces and things like that on Twitter, and I was telling people like the Pirates were 60-1 to win the division, and I really sat there and I was like, the Cardinals are not anywhere as near as talented as people think. It's really in my mind it was the Brewers or maybe the Pirates, and the Cubs have performed better than I thought they would, and they've surprised me. But like I'm high on the Pirates. I think this is a very different team than what we've seen in previous years. I know it's early in the season, so everyone is a little bit cautious to trust, the increase in walk rate, the better contact percentages, but adding veteran presences like McCutchen and some of these other guys in the lineup, they've always had young talent, but they didn't necessarily know how to share information down a lineup. When you have 9 guys who are 25 or younger in a lineup, it's tough to figure out what to do if things aren't going well. But having a guy like McCutchen, having some of the other vets that they've brought in, and then combining that with Sawinski, and they just re-signed Brian Reynolds, like these type of guys, the lineup I think is very, very good. I'm high on Roansy Contreras. Tough spot for him today, but Gonsolin wasn't very sharp in his one rehab start. 3 innings, walked a couple of guys. He did strike out 7 batters, but again, the Pirates have been walking a lot. Their contact rates are improved, so I think the Pirates have some underdog value here. I probably don't like them just at the money line here. If I'm going to take the Pirates, I'll probably take them -1 to get it closer to plus 150 here, just to give yourself a little bit more bang for the buck, especially the wind's blowing out. Like I think there'll be some runs scored in this one, so probably would lean Pirates here. It's not warm enough really to bet an over, I don't think, but I think we could see some runs regardless.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Someone told me before the season that they thought the Pirates could be good, and I was like, you're high. Like, no way. I thought when he was going through the NL Central, he brought up the Cubs, and I was like, is he about to bash the Cubs on this podcast here? Like, we are a pro Cubs program here.
we are pro Cubs.
The Cubs just never let us down. When we make them top end of the day, they never let us down.
I love it.
All right, let's move on to the next one. I hope you're right, by the way. I'm rooting for Pirates.
Like, man, I'm not a Pirates fan. I actually actively dislike the Pirates, but they were 60-1.
How do you dislike the Pirates? Who dislikes the Pirates?
I just don't like when ownership cries.
I agree with you there.
That's really my big thing. I also am just like not a huge fan of the city of Pittsburgh. I'm from Cleveland, so we got that rivalry. But it really, really irks me when an owner claims to have no money or claims to the way baseball's ownership structure is set up too. Owners who are cheap get money from owners who are rich. Like the Yankees pay the Pirates in a roundabout way. So the owners are not hurting for money. Everyone who's bought a team except for the owner of the Marlins right now, the valuation on their franchise has gone up exponentially. So it's tough for me to root for teams because obviously the owner benefits, right? If you start selling more tickets, if you make the playoffs, the owner makes even more money and there's nothing going into the payroll. So I don't root for the Pirates, but 60-1 just felt too dumb. Like I threw just a very small amount of money on that preseason, and I was like, that's for sure going to mature. And maybe I have my larger bet in that division was the Brewers at plus 200, and then the Pirates at 60-1. And I was like, if the Cubs surprise me, then I'm sure having plus money on 3 teams probably at some point should turn into a profit.
Yeah, I feel that. Yeah, that makes complete sense. I mean, just philosophically that the owner of an MLB team would be complaining about a lack of money. It's just kind of like
that owner sucks. I hate that owner.
I like the comment anti-Pirates, anti-anything Pirates in the movies.
That's Jess. That's our tennis capper. Good morning, Jess. She took it as far. She even took a shot at Johnny Depp.
She took it there. Just skipped the Rays game.
Did I
skip the Rays game? Yeah.
Oh, I did.
There we go. I mean,
I like the Rays money line, but it's sides. Really
yeah.
The only reason, and I'm like me, very open about this. I don't really have an angle other than I think the Rays can be relied on in their bullpen days and the line movement. I'm just playing the line movement here. I know everyone's betting Houston. It's moving the other way. So it's that simple. Like, I know that's probably not going to convince you to bust out your phones and lay down a lot of money. That's okay. I like the Rays.
Yeah, I just got to play Houston here at that plus price. I didn't do it yesterday, and I felt like a moron, and I'm willing to do it today because it seems like the Astros bats are waking up. Not only were they getting runs in those first two games, but they're getting them early. In the Atlanta series, they were starting off super slow and had to have Yordan Alvarez save them in the later innings to win two of those games. But now that they're getting off the hot starts, I like that. And yes, Tampa is employing a bullpen day. Usually I like the bullpen days for Tampa, but we just saw Beeks with 20 pitches yesterday, Adam with 19, Hembry with 18, Poche with 12. So 4 of the guys in that bullpen already went yesterday and saw a pretty decent amount of usage. So that's a bit concerning to me. And then on top of that, Hunter Brown's coming off a rough start, but I like Hunter Brown. I really do. I think he's a phenomenal pitcher.
He looked great in his last start. He looked really good when we backed him.
Dude, your boy Eric Lauer's looking like a stud thus far. How do you do yesterday? He didn't give up 8 hits through like 2 innings of work, right? Nah.
It was
exactly.
It was a
Hunter
weird
Brown's
night.
a beast.
He was mismanaged.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Simply put, I think Hunter Brown. There's a reason they didn't get anybody after let Verlander walk. This kid's an animal, and I think there's a huge bounce back spot. Give me, your boy Hunter Brown.
You just went Houston money line, right? Plus 110 or whatever it is.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm also pro Hunter Brown. I like the kid a lot. I think he's got tools that will make him successful at the big league level long term. I've been playing him somehow, some way, pretty much every time he's been on the mound. I didn't take him that first start. I just wanted to see, there's a lot of emotion that can go into that, but he's been pretty sharp otherwise. And I thought even though he got hit around a little bit in that last game, it wasn't hit around in the sense of like, oh man, like we got some major red flags going into the next start. It was just, okay, like you faced a good team. You made some bad pitches. You missed in the middle third of the plate and a good team made you pay. But I know the Rays have been killing. I'm very, very high on the Rays as well. But I think like you look at Hunter Brown in this situation, his outs are at 15.5. And that just seems ridiculously low for him coming off of a game in which he got hit around. The market maybe is a little bit cold, but he's got really good stuff. He's pitching in a pitcher-friendly park tonight, obviously being in a dome in Tampa. I think it's maybe you wait for a lineup and just see what Tampa Bay does with the splits, but he's a guy who can get righties out, he can get lefties out, and he has too high of a baseball IQ to get shelled on a regular basis. And the Astros, let me pull up their bullpen usage real quick. It's not great. Matan's pitched 2 of the last 3 days. Like they have some guys available, but Presley pitched yesterday. Montero pitched yesterday. Abreu's thrown 2 of the last 4. So, like, I guess they have everybody available, but you'd still like to get a little bit of length out of your guy. Like, I would find it shocking if Brown was not sent out there for the 6th inning. And if you only need 1 out in the 6th inning, that just feels like how can you not take that? And then I always like to pick on MGM too. If MGM's giving you the best line and Caesars is juicing it, that's usually a pretty good sign of like Caesars knows what they're doing, and MGM is trying to copy markets or copy lines from other places. So the 15.5 is like almost. I'll probably put it in the Roto Grinders free article that I do today.
All right. Yeah.
What are the odds looking like on that?
Oh yeah, I didn't put in odds.
It's minus 115.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah, and for context too, his outs were, I believe, it was either 17.5 or 16.5 the start before that and the start before that. So this does feel like a classic case of a little bit of a
overreaction,
an overreaction to someone not having their best start.
I was hoping, because I agree, everything I've read about this kid is awesome. I was hoping, okay, he went on the road in Atlanta. Now he goes on the road at Tampa, 2 of the toughest places to pitch. The value on him will just plummet after that, and then we could bet the shit out of him in his next start. That's the way I was thinking of it.
I will say, if that happens, God, do I love Hunter Brown.
Right, if Hunter Brown struggles again today, we're betting the life out of him in his next start, just because at Atlanta, at Tampa is kind of a tough draw.
Yeah.
It's a hellhole.
Again, like you look at the stuff that a pitcher can control, and this is why I said like it wasn't a horrible start for him. His last start against Atlanta, he had a first pitch strike to 2 out of every 3 batters that he faced. His zone contact rate, so like the pitches that guys saw in the zone, they only made contact on 74% of those pitches. He had a 14.7 swinging strike rate. So he's still got a lot of swings and misses. He made Atlanta make poor decisions at the plate, swinging at a lot of pitches out of the zone. So the stuff was good. He just made a couple of mistakes over the middle of the plate, which you just can't do against a lineup like Atlanta. Atlanta will make you pay. So the Rays are great as well. I mean, he's not a lock to go out there and throw a gem, but 15 and a half outs just feels very, very palatable for a guy who, when you look at his first couple of starts, I mean, the pitch count, they're not hesitant to throw him out there for close to 100 pitches. He went 7 innings both of the 2 starts before Atlanta. So like to tell me that he's not even going to go out there for the 6th inning just feels really, really wrong.
I mean, I can feel that.
He would need to get shelled to not go.
Yeah,
out
and if he does, I'll just eat it. You know, okay, the Rays have been that good. If he gets shelled, I'll live with it. And like you guys said, I'll just double my
double down
the next time he comes around.
Yep,
I get it back.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, Mariners at Phillies. Gut feeling, which is not the way to go, but gut feeling, I feel like we finally see a good start out of Walker. He was much more reliable at home as a Met, but nah, I'm passing. It just feels. When Logan Gilbert was supposed to pitch yesterday, I was on Philly's first 5 money line, and then they switched it, and Marco Gonzalez pitched, and so I do think the Phillies bats at home and the Phillies bats at righties have had good numbers recently. Yeah. But I'm passing, so I won't just ramble.
Yeah, I mean, this is just like too much of a coin flip. I feel like I'm really not getting a great edge on either side here. I think they're pretty comparable. If you look over the last week and a half or so, they're both top 10 bullpens. They're both much better lineups against right-handed pitching. You got 2 very solid pitchers on the mound. Obviously, Gilbert gets a little bit of an edge over Taijuan Walker, but he's on the road, so maybe a little less of an edge. It's just too much of a coin flip. I feel like I'm not betting the best value here, so I'll just pass.
Okay. All right.
I think if you're gonna do anything in this game, it's probably the strikeouts. You got Ryan Wills behind the plate, pretty K-friendly umpire. Gilbert's at 5.5. The Phillies have been making a little bit more contact of late, but I mean Gilbert's got some swing and miss stuff. What do you say?
I was looking at Gilbert over K's. I didn't know what the odds were, but I know the last time he faced him, he was dealing in terms of the K's, not in terms of the runs allowed.
Yeah, I think it's -130 is when I saw it before we hopped on the show. So it's a very playable line in my mind. I think the matchup is relatively solid as well. The umpire certainly helps. I'm always very big on the umpire, but Gilbert has some splits that I'll probably wait to see a lineup here. So I think for now, probably a lean on Gilbert over 5.5 Ks, but it'll be something that I'm going to try to take a look at a little bit later.
That's represents what I hate about baseball is the umpire has such a big factor.
Yep.
I hate that.
But I will say, man, I love it. I love it for K props because I don't think it's a thing. Like, I don't think a lot of people sit down and take the time to go through, okay, this is a K friendly ump, or this guy is K averse. You're not going to get many calls on the corner. So I feel like if you have the time to go through and look at that kind of information every day, we have a tremendous edge over the public when it comes to these things. And if you can get a situation where you have a strikeout pitcher against a lineup that swings and misses a lot or takes a lot of called strikes, and then you have an umpire who's going to give you the corner, you got everything running in your direction for an over on a K prop. Or if everything's going the other way, you have everything going for an under. So I love K props. It just like I coach, I do like other things. So with guys like Gilbert, I don't always get to the window on them because I might have to be at a field, I'm waiting for a line. Like I won't bet Gilbert without a lineup. It's one of those guys. It's the same thing we talked about Ashcraft and John Gray. If I don't have a lineup for those guys, I'm not going to pull the trigger. I just won't.
Yeah. No, I definitely see how that could be a huge edge, for sure. All right, Nats and Mets. You know what? As I said on YouTube last night, I went Nats first 5 yesterday. I'm going right back to it. Let me check the odds. You know what? I'm going to take the half run to play it a little safe. That's another thing where you're arguing about is whether or not long term, if you're betting an underdog in the first 5, is it smarter to take money line or the half run? But we were looking and I couldn't really find any data on it, any definitive data.
We would need a big pool of data.
Yeah.
I'm always a big fan of taking the money line or splitting the investment. So like if I'm putting a unit on a first 5 underdog. Like I'll put half, maybe half of it on the money line and half on the plus a half. I just really like the plus money. I think you have the push potential. I know some people don't like to push, but for me, I have no issue with it. Like underdogs, if you have an opportunity where you really like an underdog in an isolated spot in the first 3 or first 5, I'm always fine pushing. If you get, like, a lot of people play the plus a half, I don't know. Maybe it's a psychological thing too. Like as a fan of baseball, I don't feel like I've won if my team is tied. Like it doesn't compute in my head. So maybe that's why I have a little bit of a bias towards the money line. I don't know. I like getting like the plus 130s, the plus 150s, stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I mean, who doesn't? I'd be really interested to see some data on that, but it's such a hard thing to track. As far as my reasoning,
I'm doing that
for taking this, one sec.
No worry.
So yeah, I guess I have to just bite the bullet and admit that I was wrong on Mackenzie Gore. I thought that the Orioles lineup would smash him. They're always a real tough lineup for left-handed pitching, and he really held his own. He wasn't great, but he really wasn't bad. I think it was like 3 hits and 4 walks over 6 innings, 3 earned runs, I think it was. And yeah, Washington lost 4-0, but I thought he was going to get shelled, and I thought we were going to be able to, the next day, Prop Beaver was going to come into work, and I was going to be able to tell him what an idiot he was, that I told you so, Mackenzie Gore sucks. But anyway, the point is, if Mackenzie Gore is able to put together a formative start against the Orioles lineup, he should be able to do so against the Mets lineup as well, who's pretty average against left-handed pitching. And Kodai Senga has been horrible. I don't care if the Mets are winning the games. He's been horrible in his last 2 starts. He's given up 12 hits and 8 walks in his last 2 starts. The only reason the Mets won the games is they scored a combined 26 runs in those 2. So, I mean, how many are we going to just keep relying on the Mets to score 12-13 to bail Kodai Senga out?
Yeah.
I think his luck runs out, and I think Kodai Senga will probably have a good season, but I think he's hitting that, like, oh, he took the lead by surprise, and now maybe pitching in the U.S. a little bit. Some people are starting to catch on, so I think I like the Nats in the first 5.
Yeah, I'm going to split it up. First 5 money line on the Nats and first 5 run line. The Nats bats are putrid against righties. There's no hiding that. But at the price, I'm going to be willing to be optimistic that they put up some runs here. As you said, Senga's really struggled thus far. A whip above 2 over his last 2 starts. And I just think that if the Nats can muster up 2 runs here, then I like our chances, because Mackenzie Gore has impressed me pretty much in every way imaginable with a 3.43 ERA and a 2.08 OBA. The one thing that's killing me is that 16% walk rate. That is really, really rough. But the Mets are worse against lefties, and they're in a division rivalry spot, so I can see them struggling a bit. We saw the Nats play them tough a few spots last year as well. Gore is 3-1 to the first 5 run line this year as an underdog, and he's 2-1-1 to the first 5 money line, with his lone miss coming in a spot where the Nats got blanked. At the nice plus price, it's hard to pass up. If the Nats want to get blanked here again, that's fine. But
wait, hold on. You said Mackenzie scored 2-1-1 to the first 5 money line?
Yeah.
Oh wow, cool. Commissioner, are you with us?
No, I don't know. I'm not betting Nationals.
Absolutely not. No.
But the concerns are valid, and they're enough to keep me off of the Mets in this spot, especially against left-handed batters. Senga's walk rate is almost 20%. That's just ridiculous.
Ooh.
And
yeah,
and there's been a couple of lineups where the Nationals have thrown 6 lefties in there, so that's just a lot of traffic. And especially, again, I know like it's not great hitting weather across the league, but 10-mile-an-hour wind blowing out towards left field. It's going to be over 50 degrees at first pitch. That's a situation like the Nationals don't have to be great offensively to have Senga walk a guy or 2, and then one guy for the Nationals put a good swing on a baseball and they have 3 runs on the board. So
yeah,
it's like baseball. It's a tough thing about baseball is like you look at all the numbers, and the Nationals are bottom 5 everything against right-handed pitching, but that's why you bet baseball every day. That's why you bet these trends and these numbers every single day, because long term you understand how that's going to play out. But in a small sample size in one game, I like Senga. It's just really difficult to trust, and he had walk issues over in Japan too. So it's not like this is new. It's not like it's just a 2-start thing. This has followed him throughout his career, and I mean, like there's just more tape on him. You know, the guy struggled in the spring a little bit. He's had some issues with that forkball, with the grip. He's had some lingering hand things that have been going on. So Yeah, like I mean, he performed well against Miami back to back out of the gate, and honestly, even in that first start against Miami, loaded the bases in the first inning and got out of it. That could have been much worse than it was. And then Oakland, not a great offense. The Giants, not a great offense either. So he's faced 4 relatively weak offenses and has a 4.29 ERA and a 6.04 FIP. It's another spot where, like, do I think the Mets win this game? Yes, but they're in the same boat as the Diamondbacks, where it's like, do they deserve to be this heavy of a favorite? Probably not.
Agreed. So, I'm just gonna write pass.
It's a pass for me, but I'm with you guys on all the data. I think your read makes sense, and I think there's a chance the Nationals could win the first 5, and then the Mets could win the game.
Of course. Yep. Yeah, I was searching for Washington offensive angles. They're tough to find. It's like bottom 5 against righties, bottom 5 on the road. It was, I was hunting, couldn't find it. All right, Marlins at Braves. I'm taking the Marlins money line. I know this is crazy, especially because the Braves, like, it's not like the Braves have won 7 of their last 8, and I'm like catching them napping here. That's not the case. But I'm taking it just because I just find it very hard to believe that Sandy Alcantara is going to have 3 bad starts in a row. And we've seen this dude show up on the road in Atlanta or on the road against the Mets, in these tough spots, and just throw 7 scoreless. He's the type of dude that could win you the game. And I think we're going to see a Cy Young type performance because we haven't really seen one from him yet. I still think he's the best pitcher in baseball. So this is literally a bet on Sandy Alcantara. They might win 2-0.
I'm in the same boat. This is also a bet on Sandy Alcantara. I can't believe the line moved. It was at plus 145. Right
I know.
135's the best we could get now. Damn. But yeah, Sandy's coming off 2 straight recorded losses where he got rocked by Philly and Arizona. Now with the series on the line, because they do have a game tomorrow, so it wouldn't be a sweep today if they lost. With the series on the line, I think he's going to step up. They may have touched up Sandy in their most recent matchup last September, but look at his 5 previous matchups against the Braves. 4-1 with a 0.97 ERA. I just think that Elder's a bit overvalued here. I mean, I think he's due to get rocked any day now, sporting that gross-ass 53 hard hit percentage with just a 1.14 ERA. Like, that just doesn't add up. With the Miami bullpen still performing at a high level, I think they could close out the Atlanta bats as good as they are. I think they're very comparable in terms of the bullpen. And really, I just need like a Jorge Soler home run and some magic on the bases, and I'm seeing a Marlins 3-2 victory. Give me the Marlins.
Real quick, you mentioned that the line dropped for us. It was up at like plus 146 last night. Check this out. You can see, looks like books are taking some Miami action this morning, so it makes sense that the line would drop a little bit for us. Are you with us? He's thinking about it.
I'm not as high as a lot of people on Alcantara, but I do think it's a good spot for him. I like Elder, I think, also more than a lot of people, but it's like probably my strongest look in this game is the under. Like I'm a little hesitant to play it just because of the weather. I don't know. I've seen some differing forecasts on what to expect in Atlanta tonight, but it looks like we're probably going to have sub 60 degree temperatures for this game, wind blowing in from left field. So do I think tonight's the day that Elder gets rocked? No, I think he also gets enough swings and misses to where he's never like I don't see him as a guy who's going to go out there and give up 6 runs on a bad start. Like I think he's a guy who might turn into he's going to give up 3 on it. Like you think about Cal Contrail, right? Someone like that. I think it's a very serviceable back end piece in a rotation. It is tough though. I mean, like Alcantara, if you get him at this significant of plus money, it's really wild to pass up. It's another spot for me where like I'll try to wait for a lineup, but if you can get a first 3 money line or a first 5 money line with Sandy, and like you said, like the Marlins might not score, or it might be a 2-0 game that Miami has to try to win. In the first 5, maybe they just get 1 run across the board. In the first 3, they get 1 run across the board, and you could just let Sandy do his thing for one time through the order and get out of there before he makes a mistake to Acuna or to Olsen or to someone like that. So I'm not against you guys. I'm wishing you luck on Miami. I'm on the Mets to win the division, so I can definitely support the play. I'm not going to get there myself.
Well, I definitely, if I had to play the total, I would definitely agree with you on under 7.5 too.
Oh
so.
Hell yeah, yeah.
Oh, I think it was 8.5 earlier. So that must be.
Jesus, Moroni.
So it looks like 8 on most books right now. So
Okay.
for some, it looks like I had it written as 7.5. I had the opening at 7.5, so under 8. There you go. All right, let's move on to the next one. Padres Cubs. I mean,
gross,
this
bro.
is another one where it's just like, dude, why? Why do they continue to? Again, 2 nights in a row where last night, I mean, this one makes a little more sense. Last night, I had no idea why they were giving the open that lineup as Cubs minus 110 in a lefty-lefty matchup against the Padres in Wrigley. This is another one where it doesn't really make sense to me. I think the Cubs should be pretty heavily favored. Let me see if the line's moved at all. Drew Smyly at home has been insane. He's got 12 2/3 innings. He's allowed 3 hits and a walk, I think. And it looks like this line hasn't moved either. It's still Cubs minus 104. You can actually get on FanDuel. So it's super square. Everyone's going to be on the Cubs, guaranteed. But Michael Wacha has struggled. To put it delicately, he's struggled so far this season.
Yeah, that's quite delicate.
And another thing is Smiley's got great career numbers against this Padres lineup. They've had 99 combined at bats against Drew Smyly, batting just 202, dating back to his days as an Atlanta Brave. I'm just backing the team that continues to, every time we bet the Cubs, they cash for us. So I'm riding them at this price.
Yeah, I mean, this one's painful because the line movement and stuff is so weird. It's basically telling me that the Padres are the side, but I refuse. I've had enough with these Padres. I mean, we bet them, I think 4 or 5 times within the last 2 weeks. They've screwed us every single time, and then the Padres are able to suck people back in on them to bet them, and they screw them over too. They're truly a classless organization. But really, why I'm backing this is because Drew Smyly at home. Dude, Drew Smyly at home is ridiculous. Go back to last season. If we even take this back to last year, Drew Smyly's last 6 home starts, he has a 0.74 ERA. A 0.74 ERA, dude. That is insane. And he's not allowing many hits in these starts. He's not allowing many walks in these starts. Like, he's just looked very, very impressive at home. You got the Padres, who literally cannot hit a lefty to save their life. Let me get the stat real quick. Last 5 left-handed pitching to face San Diego own a combined 0.93 ERA and a 0.96 whip through 29 innings of work.
Wow.
Pretty large sample size. So I just can't get to the Padres here. I know the Cubs bats have slowed down against right-handed pitching lately. I'm definitely aware of that. But I mean, Michael Wacha just looks next level off right now. So I gotta ride with the Cubs. I hate not being sharp, but I gotta ride with the Cubs. Simply put.
Are you with us?
I'm not on the Padres. I think the Padres
I'll take it.
The Padres remind me a lot of the White Sox last year, where they have a lot of name recognition. They have Xander Bogaerts, they have Manny Machado, they have Juan Soto, they have Jake Cronenworth, they have Darvish. You know, all of these. You go
Tatis.
probably know more guys on the Padres lineup top of mind than any other team in baseball. If you're a casual baseball fan, even maybe you're a diehard baseball fan, you just have a lot of recognizable names on that roster. But you mentioned they've been very bad against lefties this year. They were awful against lefties last year. It just turned into a spot where it was an automatic fade on the Padres every time they faced a lefty. The defense is terrible. I know Tatis is off to a decent start in right field, but Juan Soto is the most overrated player in Major League Baseball, in my opinion. I think the guy is way too patient at the plate. I get into a lot of fights about this. I think he's got a lot of talent. I just think his approach needs refined a little bit. Defensively, he's a train wreck. Doesn't run the bases particularly well. And I think some of the other guys on that team too, like I really like Xander Bogaerts. Not elite defensively, though. I know he had a good year last year, but like throughout his career hasn't been elite. Machado's been very up and down this year. I know it just sort of always feels like if you have all these big names, eventually you'll get it going. But I think there's real reasons that the Padres have gotten off to a slow start, and they're not all because Tatis was out of the lineup. So I'm definitely not betting the Padres here. I'm more so at Wrigley just a totals guy. Like I'll bet an over and under, and a lot of times it has to do with the weather and the wind. Today it looks like it's going to be about 40 degrees and the wind blowing across the field from right to left. I think it's a decent spot to take a look at in under, or if you do want to bet the Padres, and I say this like very cautiously, if you want to bet the Padres, Michael Wacha's outs are at 15.5. And I know he's been bad. I know he's been really, really bad. But depending on the lineup that the Cubs threw out there today, Wacha has already gotten through 6 innings twice this season. So the Padres want him to go out there and eat innings. But he gave up 7 runs to the Brewers and 5 to the Diamondbacks. You have to pull him in that situation. I think if he gives up 4 runs tonight, the Padres will at least send him out there for the 6th inning. So I think 15.5 outs is a playable line, not because I think he's going to pitch particularly well, but because it's 40 degrees and because the Padres want him to eat it. Like, I think it's a line that it doesn't feel like you should bet it, but it probably cashes, in my opinion.
I wrote down under as a lean and Wacha over 16.5 outs.
It's actually 15. 15.5. So you only need 1 out in the 6th inning.
Right. Okay.
Kamish, I respect your dissing of Juan Soto. Not many have the balls to come on and just and disregard Mr. Soto like that. But I actually liked your opinion on that a lot. That was good.
I appreciate it. I mean, I'm open to revising it. Right? He's young. He can get better things, but I think he's a very, very flawed baseball player, and nobody wants to talk about it because people look at you sideways if you say anything negative about him. What has he really done to impress you? Like, if you really sat down and someone asked you, make a concrete list of things Juan Soto does on a day-to-day basis that are very impressive. He has a really good eye at the plate. He's a good contact approach type of guy, but he hits way too many balls on the ground. We're constantly talking about issues with his launch angle, not being able to get the ball in the air enough. It's the defense. Like, people don't realize how important defense is to winning baseball games, winning a division, winning a pennant. He's a major liability out there. Like, I would never in a million years give that guy a 10-year, $400+ million deal right now. Does he have the potential to earn it at some point down the road? Yes, but I would let another GM give him that contract. I don't want him personally.
I think Juan Soto, comparable to another sport, is very Ja Morant-ish, as in like great highlights. When he hits a home run, it looks violent. Like, it's great on ESPN. Young up-and-coming talent, but just with a ton of holes in this game. And that's the same with Ja Morant. You'll see a bunch of crazy highlights. They don't show that he was responsible for 38 points on the defensive end. So it reminds me of that, like a kind of player who just like appeals to the public, but gets overvalued just because of that appeal.
That's a good comp. That's a really good comp.
All right. Actually, I don't have a bet for either of the last games, so take it away. I'm passing on both. I'll put pass to there.
Imagine paying $280 with the Angels right now. Good off that pass. Yeah.
Yo, wait, can we go back to instead of just saying I'm betting the Cubs, Prop Beaver goes, San Diego's a classless organization.
They are.
Such an unnecessary shot.
I've had enough of them, bro. They've done me so dirty. It's like disgusting at this point. I can't cope.
So we're both passing.
Would you have anything for this one, Kamish?
Well, Medina first career start, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that makes it tough. You got anything?
Maybe the over. I
could see that.
Maybe
Series
like
thus far.
Wind blowing out. I like the Athletics, as bad as they are, have actually been relatively decent against left-handed pitching in a small sample size. Entering play today, they're 8th in OPS, 10th in ISO, roughly league average walk rate and K rate. So I think that makes sense. You have a very K-averse umpire in this one too, which typically leads to more runs or at least more run scoring opportunities. And then the problem is you need someone to cash that, right? You need someone to get a base hit. So it's not a perfect science. I think Patrick Sandoval under 17.5 outs is also a decent look. I think it's one of those things where
you know under 7.5. Under
17.5 outs for Patrick Sandoval. It feels like he should get to 18. That's intuitively when you look at that line, you're like, it's Oakland. The Angels don't really want to get handed to the bullpen earlier than they have to, but he's not in that class of pitchers who is granted a full inning. Like, if you look at really elite pitchers in the game, they almost never get pulled in the middle of an inning unless it's like the 8th or the 9th where they're really pushing them. Like Sandy Alcantara will almost always finish an inning. DeGrom will almost always finish an inning. Scherzer almost always finish an inning. So when I'm looking at their outs, I'm wanting to bet the round numbers. I want to bet 18s. I want to bet 21s. With Sandoval, it's a guy, like, he's in that second or third tier of pitchers where it's very realistic that he gets sent out there for the 6th, but then they go to a different they go to a bullpen arm matchup wise. If there's a guy on base with a runner on, he hasn't earned the right to finish innings in a way that some of the premier pitchers in the game have. And I think this is a consistent piece of advice for when you see these 17.5 outs lines. It feels like, okay, well, I know he's going to get it sent out there for the 6 because it's a pretty favorable matchup, but it's harder than people realize to get 3 outs just because you're sent back out there. So I think the under on his outs today, and then the over, honestly, on Oakland's team total at 3.5 or the full game over 9. I think both of those are probably worth a longer look.
Yeah, I mean, the 6th inning is such a pivotal spot in the game for a starting pitcher.
Yeah.
You're going through the lineup the 3rd time. Yeah, definitely. I like that. It was interesting. I wish I looked at more bets like that, outs and strikeouts. Prop Beaver, I usually tail his stuff for strikeouts.
Yeah. Well, doing the ticket this year, I've been more in the full game market. I've been struggling to create time to research the props because I feel like, yes, you can get an idea when you're looking at the game stuff, but then really what it comes down to I feel myself with the props is looking at the different hit rates, looking at the history, looking at the splits, and then that's a whole different process. So I've been really just full gaming it up right here, but I would like to get back into the Prop City.
City.
Back into Prop City. I need to get the keys back.
You're currently
I will
kicked out of Prop City.
I will say though, I think there's a lot of value in, okay, this market is working for me and I'm just going to stick with it. Like for me, I will almost never look at hitter props. Like sometimes I'll give out a free player.
I don't do hitter props either.
I'll throw a few dollars on hitter props if I give them out as a free bet or something like that. But like I'm a pitching coach. I pitched growing up. That's what I do. Like I know the psyche of pitching. I know the psyche of pitching coaches, when guys will or will not be pulled out of a game, stuff like that. So I have a lot of success in that market, but I'm also a big money line side, full game, or derivatives of full game market type of guy. I know a lot of people are real big into hit lays and stuff like that. I don't have much success. And I also, from a realistic standpoint, just don't have 17 hours a day to go through everything. Like there's literally thousands of options that you can bet on every day. I really am a believer of you have to pick certain things that are going to be your go-tos. So if it's full game, it's full game. If it's pitcher props, it's pitcher props. And then if you have a little bit of extra time or something catches your eye, okay, like Mike Trout's 12 for 12 against this dude and he kills left-handed pitching, whatever it is. Like if there's something that catches your eye, of course, take a look into it. But I think having 1 or 2 markets that you really try to become an expert at, I think makes a lot of sense.
Couldn't agree more. Definitely.
Do you have a bet for this game, Kyle?
It's like 2 teams that I hate betting. Can I fade both?
Yeah, that series has done dirty.
I mean, I'll put Giants as a lean, but it's only because the Cardinals actually pulled through last. Wait a second, they took the lead 4-1 at the end. They won,
dude.
right?
I think they lost.
No, they didn't. They did not blow that.
Check. I think so, bro.
Hold on. Oh my God, they blew it. They blew it.
I'm telling you, bro, that team is putrid. They're really putrid right now.
Yeah, they took a 4-1 lead in the 8th to the Giants lineup and blew it in the bottom of the 9th. Wow.
It had to be, if I'm willing to, if I'm gonna bet without, I didn't even realize they blew that game either. I would bet that it was Cabrera that blew the game.
It looks like the loss goes to Helsley.
Which really?
And
I would have thought it would have been the lefties. I would have thought it would have been the lefties that got to Cabrera.
Nope, it was Helsley pitched the entire 9th inning. He gave up a 2-run walk-off homer to save. How did I not see that?
Or Gallegos. Gallegos is who I was thinking of, but it's
yeah, Gallegos is a bit of a gas can at times.
But
wow.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it was.
I thought
it's been aired though, right?
We were watching. We were watching, and the Cardinals took the lead 4-1. We must have turned it off. Or you know what? I think that's when you left. So I might have turned it off after you left. Wow.
It looks like it was aired though, because Helsley didn't have an earned run. So
wow.
They must have
wait a second. What am I looking at here? Do you see can you see my screen?
Safe at first on fielding error.
Right.
Yeah, but this is a good point to bring up because the Cardinals, I think, have earned a reputation as one of the elite defensive teams in the league because they had a couple of seasons where I think they had like 7 Gold Gloves starting. Like someone had won a Gold Glove at some point throughout their career, 7 of the 9 guys. The last year and a half now, these younger guys that they've brought up, they have sacrificed a lot of defense for offense, and the offensive returns have not been outstanding. That was a reason I was very, 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 very pessimistic about the Cardinals. I also think what Goldie did last year and what Arenado did last year is just very, very difficult to replicate, and I thought that was a huge reason for their success. So you factor in the diminishing returns defensively, you're not getting offensively what you want out of the younger guys, and then your two MVP candidates, Goldschmidt and Arenado, I just don't think realistically are MVP candidates. I thought they overperformed quite significantly last year relative to their expected stats and the way you look at things sustainably long term. Like Goldschmidt's 35, 36. Like, how often do you see a first baseman have a season like that late into his career? He's still batting 287 this year, but he's not batting 360. You have to have a good amount of luck on balls in play. So like I think this is the Cardinals. I think there's a very real reason that you see them as a pick'em against the San Francisco Giants tonight. Both teams below 500. And even though the Giants are pretty much the worst team in baseball against left-handed pitching, 30th in OPS, 26th in ISO, 28th in walk rate, 29th in K rate, there's a reason that St. Louis is still a pick'em here. I think the Cardinals get the job done. I would lean that way tonight, but they're not a playoff baseball team. I think they're far from being a playoff baseball team.
I feel like the Cardinals always turn up in the second half of the season after the All-Star break. But yeah,
they do have good ownership. They have a good front office. Like I wouldn't put it past them to go get a piece that will help put things together a little bit, but there's a lot more holes this year on this roster than I think they've had the last few summers.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen it this bad before. They're awful.
Yeah, it didn't want to make in the ticket, but I do like the first 5 under in this game. Just from a pure split standpoint, you got Steven Matz, who's a lefty, facing a Giants lineup that's really struggled against lefties. Then you got Desclafani, who looked pretty excellent through his first 3 starts before facing a tough Mets lineup. That's at 4.5 right now, and the under is at plus 100. So if you could get that at plus money, I feel like that has some pretty decent value to it. I'm a little bit concerned about that line because it went up to 9 on some books, which I think is a bit weird, especially with the matchup, but that would be my angle for this game, ultimately.
Yeah, but the wind is blowing out, so that might be part of the reason. Like, maybe. And I've noticed that where sometimes the public will look at the wind and they just blanket bet the over based on the wind. It's still only 57 degrees there tonight, and Oracle, even though the ball's traveled a little bit better there the last 2 seasons now with the changes to the humidor process, it's still more of a pitcher-friendly park, and the offenses, like you said, are not great. So I think that might be line movement to where they're just, I don't know if it's sharp line movement. I'll leave it at that.
Agreed.
Yeah, this is what we were talking about in the beginning. This would be the downside of Wednesdays in the MLB is this game's in 10 hours. Like, I don't know. Let me see how my NBA bets do. Like, I don't know. I might throw a few dollars on the Giants lead. It's just, it seems so far from now to have to like make a definitive decision because we're live. That's the downside to the Wednesdays. It's like in the NFL when I'm trying to post my stuff at 9 a.m. and they're asking me to pick Sunday Night Football. Like, yo, I might be down $4,000 by that time. Like, I don't know. So yeah, thank you for joining us. Welcome anytime. Make sure you go. We appreciate him joining us. Make sure you guys go follow him on Twitter. His name, it's right here underneath his name, at Commish Film Room. Yeah, let's have ourselves a good day. The first game starts in about 15 minutes, so let's get the bets down. Remember to bet responsibly, and reach out to me on the website, live chat, or Twitter if you need anything. Have a good one.
Chiefs.
Best of luck, guys. Thanks for having me.